Now let me guess, you hopped on the old interwebs because you want to figure out where all the nipples are located here for greasing your Can-Am Commander. Well, good news, brother, I have just a video for you. I'll show you where all 10 of these are located, so just kick back, crack a cold one, and let's talk about it. I'd like to welcome you if you're new to the channel. I'm Danny with Escape Power Sports, and today we're going to be expanding on our Commander Maintenance and Upgrade video series by showing the step-by-step procedure on how to grease the fittings on your Can-Am Commander. I'm expecting it to be a pretty straightforward two-beer job, so let's get right into it. And while I'm hosing off the bike, there are a couple things worth mentioning before we get right into this job. First being the tools required for the job. Most importantly, obviously, is a grease gun. Definitely going to want one with a flexible tip like this. I think I got it for like 25 bucks off Amazon. Gloves never hurt anybody, and we're definitely going to want a bunch of shop towels because this job can get messy. And there are a couple other things over here I want to mention real quick. First being, as far as time required, should be 2 to 3 beers, so we should be done here in the next hour. Really only one way to find out, and that's to get to it. Another thing worth mentioning real quick is why to even do this in the first place. And greasing our machine will extend the bushing and U-joint life in our machines, like the ones out of this, these wore out guys out of an old Razor. And what that'll do is help keep our suspension nice and tight while we're going down the trail. And since greasing these machines extends the life of those parts, that's going to end up saving us money in the long run. So if it's going to lower the long-term cost of ownership for our clients, or in turn save y'all some cash for y'all working on these machines at home, that's more than a good enough reason for me. The last thing I want to mention before we get right into it is when to go ahead and grease these machines. And the manufacturers mostly all say around every 50 hours, but it really don't hurt to do it more often than that. I really like to do it at any time after a really wet ride, or if you can hear the suspension starting to squeak, or a U-joint clunk, or after a good thorough cleaning like we did to this one today. Finally, to the exciting part and what you're here for is where all 10 of these grease fins are located. I found 6 easy ones that I think will be real easy to get to in the front suspension, and then 4 more along the drivetrain. We'll talk about those in a minute. Let's start with these 6 easy ones in the front. So there'll be 3 per side, and there'll be 1 for the upper A-arm right here. I don't know if you can see the fitting. It helps to clean them off too. Grease gun takes it a little bit better, I've noticed, whenever you clean them off. But there's the top one, and there's 2 more for these each of these bottom A-arms, and the easiest way to get to them is to actually come from the underside. Hope you can see them there. But let's get those knocked out real quick, and we'll get the same 3 on the other side. And these front A-arms usually only need between 1 to 4 pumps before you can see fresh grease coming out at the bushing. And like I mentioned earlier, this job's always really messy, so having those gloves and shop towels around really makes it easier on us. And of course, I was sure to get these same 3 fittings over here on the other side. Alright, now we got all them 6 easy ones in the front all lubed up nice and good. Let's move on to the U-joints. They're a little bit more difficult, but still not too bad at all. Let's start with this one on the front. It's going to be right behind the front diff, and let me show it to you right now. Alright, now to get to this front U-joint up here by the front diff, I like to come in over here from the passenger side. And I don't know if you can see our U-joint right here, but that looks like our grease nipple right there. And you don't need the machine jacked up for this, but you might need to pull it forward or backward to get that nipple to line up with this passenger side so you can get on it. And I did read online somewhere actually that some of these have 2 grease fins. Mine being bolted right here up in the front only has 1, but comment below when you do this job to let us know, you know, if there's other machines out there with 2 up here in the front. U-joint, I think after years of dedicated use, this grease gun is finally out of grease, and I'm looking around, I don't see any grease to refill it. Parts store being an hour and a half down the mountain, and Amazon still taking 2 days to send me shit like that. I'm gonna test out this bad looking grease gun I got at a garage sale the other day. Looks like it hooks up to a compressor, and hopefully it's got grease in it and we can get right back to it. And stay tuned, I'll probably do a little video on how to rechange the grease in these guns once that comes in. But let's get back to it. Alright y'all, so this air grease gun didn't work worth a crap that I got at the garage sale. I think I can fix it, but that's a beer for another day. I was able to find another tube of grease that we can throw in my original grease gun here. It's not the marine, naturally water resistant kind I really like to use on these bikes because they do get real wet, but it'll work for the purpose of finishing this video. Now let's see if I can remember and show y'all how to change the tube out in this grease gun.
So to change that grease cartridge out real quick, all I did was step 1, pull this rod all the way out until it clicked into place all the way out of there. And then I just unscrewed the head of the gun to remove the old cartridge and make room for the new one I just found.
And you'll notice this thing's got 2 sides. I believe you pull off this cap side, not the chili can side, and pull the cap side off and stick it in there. And now you can pull your noodle can side off and throw it back together. You don't want to cross thread those, it should thread on smooth. And then we can release this somehow. Yep, there it goes. And push it back in. Or not. There it goes. Alright, that's all I got the strength for. But let's see if that works. Yep, looky there. I don't know if you can see it's coming out. Nice. Right, well, half an hour later, we're ready to grease this front U-joint.
And this front U-joint is definitely a time when a grease gun with that flexible tip definitely comes in handy.
Well, what a hot mess we got in there. Alright, y'all, so half an hour later, we got our front U-joint done. These 2 in the middle are actually kind of tricky, so let's skip them for now and go on to this rear U-joint. Let me show you how I get to those right now. Alright, y'all, so to find this rear U-joint, we're going to look right here in front of the rear diff, and I don't know if you can see it in there. And you got 2 options to get to it. One option is to pull the rear skid plate, which I went ahead and did because I was cleaning this bike up anyway. But I found the easier way to get to it is just to pop the dump bed on this Commander. And let's see if I can show you the nipple here. And you might have to move the machine forward or backward to get that nipple to line up with a spot where you can get it. But there it is, the nipple for the rear U-joint to grease this.
When I see grease coming out of the gun at the fitting, I know it ain't on there good and it's time to wipe it off and try again. And when the grease gun inevitably gets stuck up on a fitting, I like to use the wiggle and yank technique to get it back off there. And I'll know these U-joints are actually taking the grease when I see it pushing the old grease out. And you can actually also kind of hear it crackle if you listen real close. You can hear a little crackling sound as it breaks the old seal from the old grease.
Alright, y'all, so after a couple, actually several efforts, I was able to get that rear U-joint to take some grease. So now let's move on to our final 2 in the middle. Those are going to be probably the hardest to get to and need some additional discussion. And on a side note, as a quick disclaimer, really got to be careful jacking these machines up. And if you are going to be using a jack instead of ramps like these, definitely want to have some jack stands to help protect yourself. A machine falling off a jack is really the only way we can hurt ourselves bad or even really kill ourselves working on these machines ourselves. So these 2 in the middle are for the knuckle that connects to this long shaft that goes up towards the front diff, and they're right in front of the transmission. I don't know if you can see them here. There's one of them, and then the other one ought to be around the side here. It's kind of hard to show while I'm crawling under the bike. But anyway, this 2015 skid plate is actually in 3 sections, so if you've got the newer style skid plate, you'll only have to take off the front section. But I do believe, if I remember correctly, some of the older models have just 1 big skid plate, so that's kind of a bummer. I think you'll have to take it all off because there don't look to be any good way to get at it from above. So I do believe getting the skid plate off will be the easiest way to get to these 2. And I'm going to try and set this camera somewhere where y'all can see, but that one's kind of jacked up and ain't wanting to come out, so let's see if we can't coerce her out of there.
And apparently I was too worried about that jacked up bolt to get a half decent shot of me removing the 7 10mm front skid plate bolts that hold up that front skid plate. But I'll run out there right now and hang it up and see if I can't get a good picture of all 7 of those 10mm bolts holding on that front skid plate.
Aha! I thought there might be one hiding under this front skid plate.
And like all these damn U-joints, it might not take grease on the first try. And we'll know we're actually getting it when grease starts seeping out at the seams.
Alright, y'all, so I really hope you found some of this Commander grease information helpful. And if you did, do me a quick favor and give the video a thumbs up so I'll know I'm on the right track here. Now, I found 10, but of course, if I missed any or you have any thoughts or suggestions on how to improve these videos, or really any comments on this Commander grease topic in general, please leave a comment in the section below. I'd love to hear from you. And this is sort of a milestone video, being this is beer number 100, 101, and 102 on our way to finishing the Escape Powersports 1000 Beer Challenge. So I really want to take a moment and thank the 400 or so guys who found some of the content on this channel and decided to subscribe. Y'all's comments and watching these videos is really helping improve these videos. And speaking of improving these videos, now that we've got a lot of general maintenance videos in this Commander series, I figure it's about time we have a little fun and do some budget accessories. Definitely starting with some lights. Definitely going to have a light bar in the front, some backup lights, and all the fun switches that go with them, so stay tuned. I'd like to welcome you if you're new to the channel. I'm Danny with Escape Power Sports. I really want to thank y'all for watching, and as always, we'll see y'all on the trails.